All right, here we go. Today we have one of the greatest music executives of all time, the current head of YouTube Music Global, founder of 300, former CEO of Warner, former president of Def Jam, Lyor Cohen. Welcome to VladTV.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Huge fan and such a big inspiration to me.
That's super
almost
nice.
My whole life.
Super nice for you to say that.
That's the absolute truth. Thank you so much for joining us.
I'm happy to be here.
Shout out to Russell Simmons for actually linking us up a few
Thank
months
you.
back.
Yes.
Okay, so you're actually here for the whole City of Hope project, and we're going to get into that a little bit later. But while we're waiting for everyone else to arrive, I want to get into your whole story.
Okay,
So
ahead.
you're originally born in New York,
Correct.
and your parents were Israeli immigrants.
Correct.
Okay, but you grew up in L.A.
That's right.
Los Feliz.
Yes, Las Feliz.
Las Feliz. Sorry.
Yes.
So what was that like in this would be the 70s.
So I grew up in one of the best places on the planet. It's called Los Feliz. It's in Los Angeles. It's one of the original neighborhoods of Los Angeles, Pasadena, Hancock Park, and Los Feliz. I grew up in the old Chico Marx house of the Marx Brothers. And we never locked our house. Incredible community. I walked to school. Griffith Park was in our backyard. The Greek Theater, all the, public facilities. I was running all over that place. So it was lovely. And my parents, incredible parents, 3 other brothers, and just a loving, happy family. My dad was the head of psychiatry for Kaiser Permanente, and my mother was just a housewife and raising children, and just remarkable period of my life.
Now, I've always assumed that you were born in Israel because you have a slight accent when you speak. Have you heard this before?
Yeah, so my parents weren't immigrants because they weren't staying here.
Okay.
So my biological father was coming here just for his education. And my mother worked for the Israeli government. Mm-hmm. And so when I was born, I went straight back to Israel.
Oh, so you stayed there for a while.
I spent my first 3 years in Petach Tikva.
Aha. Okay, so that's where the accent comes from.
I don't know where it's a speech therapy accent. They try to get rid of this accent for a long time, really? Public education. I had a lot of resources. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, because I'm a Russian immigrant. I came over when I was 5, but I don't think I have an accent. Mm-hmm. And you know what I'm saying? It's always interesting to me to see how people kind of develop their speech. Okay, so you grew up in L.A. You went to University of Miami.
Correct, the U.
The U. Okay, and after you graduated, you went to go work for the Bank of Leumi?
Yeah, Bank Leumi is the National Bank of Israel.
Uh-huh.
My mother got me the job, and it was just when the Shah fell in Iran, and all of the Jewish Persians came straight to Beverly Hills. So we were counting money there.
A lot of money.
And I was supposed to be a financial analyst, but I ended up counting money, and I think I was making $14,000 a year. I was miserable. It was a horrible existence. But my mother got me the job. I have a college degree, and so I thought that was the responsible thing for me to do. So
okay, and then you started, dabbling in concert promotion at one point. And the first show was Run-D.M.C. and Circle Jerks?
Well, so a lot of my friends were having a good time throwing parties. And they kept saying, "You're miserable at the bank. Why don't you come and throw parties with us?" And, I said, my mother just got me this job. I just can't run out of the building. Now I have to give it a go. And the job started grinding on me. And finally I said, if I'm going to do it, I have to do something different than what you guys are doing. And So the Stardust Ballroom, it was on Sunset and Western, was an old famous skating rink where they threw a lot of classic punk shows. And so I put together a show. It was Circle Jerks, Fear, Social Distortion, Chili Peppers, Fishbone, starring Run-D.M.C.
Wow.
And
quite a lineup.
Quite a lineup.
Especially when you look at them today. Yeah.
Yes. I spent I borrowed $700 from my mother.
To book all those people.
To book those people.
Crazy.
And to put that show on.
Okay.
And it was really, really successful.
Yeah. That show blew up. Then you ended up doing a Houdini concert.
Lost everything. Jerked everything. It was one of the most devastating moments of my life. I remember the pain below my heart and above my stomach, because I stood outside knowing that there's going to be a walk-up, and no one showed up.
Wow.
And I think it must have been just because I was an amateur promoter. I didn't have the right combination. You know, it wasn't Houdini's fault. They were hot as shit.
Yeah. Okay. So was it after that you moved to New York and ended up joining Def Jam?
No.
No?
After that, I flew to New York and joined Rush.
Russell Simmons management company.
So Rush, we were managing Curtis Blow and Run-D.M.C., Houdini at the time. And so I flew back then. It was like just starting of Def Jam.
Got it. And you became Run-D.M.C's road manager.
Correct.
Okay, and you were also doing road management for Beastie Boys?
Correct.
What was the craziest part during the Beastie Boys touring era? Because I was such a super fan of the Beastie Boys during that time with License to Ill and just watching these videos and the visuals. Like, what was the craziest moment from that era?
I would say the craziest moment is we booked them in 300-seat venue starting in Seattle. So Seattle, going down the coast, going across the country in the south and coming up to the north. By the time we hit Houston, we had changed the venue 4 times, from 300 to 14,000.
From 300 to 14,000.
Yeah.
Was the album already out by that time? License to Ill was...
It was TNTing.
Oh, yeah.
It was just the most... So that was insane. And the whole, you know, it was... I can't even comprehend it, because I was so focused on trying to make it work.
Okay, so at what point you went from management to actually being an employee at Def Jam, and you worked your way up to president of Def Jam? Is that accurate?
I don't know if I was president, but I became the owner of Def Jam.
The owner.
Yeah.
Right. Because when you guys sold in 98.
Remember that I think Rick left in 88, 89. You could do the research. And Russell went to California to start making films. I think it was 89. And we ended up selling the company, I think, in 99. I'm not sure.
Yeah, 98, 99 is where I'm finding it. Right. Def Jam got sold for $100 million when Polygram merged with Universal. I talked to Russell the other night.
That's really not the right number.
That's not the right number?
No.
Higher?
Much higher.
Can you say what it is?
We sold it for $360. The value of the company was $360. They already owned a piece of it. Polygram owned a piece of it, and Polygram was bought by Universal.
Okay.
I don't need to get into the nitty-gritty details,
enough.
But, you know, we got paid.
It's a big bag.
We got a big bag, yes.
Right. And I talked to Russell the other night, and he said that when he was selling, you originally had 25% of Def Jam, but he raised it to 33%.
I don't know the percentage. I thought it's more than that.
Okay.
But it's all good.
Right. And essentially after the sale happened, well, you didn't want to do the sale. I heard you were like trying to, you were anti-sale, and it happened to be at the very height of the music industry at that time. Had you waited, you would have gotten way less money later on.
For sure.
Yeah.
So the fact of the matter is that they were trying to buy the company for 50. And I didn't want to sell the company. But there was a natural clock on it. So there's all these deals. First of all, we made deals when we didn't know all the ins and outs of how deals worked. We're learning on the job. And so I would say that there's a lot of luck in all of this stuff. If I held on to it, if there wasn't a natural clock, I would have held on to it for the 20 plus years of the decline. And so the fact that there was a clock, we sold 4 months after DMX, Ja Rule, Jay-Z, and I forgot who.
You guys were on fire during that era. You guys were absolutely on fire. Well, from what I understand, Drake was supposed to sign a Def Jam. He shook your hand and said, the deal is done, only to sign a Cash Money.
Hey, that's how things go.
Yeah.
He did great. I did great. So
yes, everyone did great.
All good.
So after the merger happened, you became the co-CEO of Island Def Jam.
Right. And Mercury.
And Mercury, right.
Mercury, yeah.
You were the first hip-hop president of a major label in the history of the world. How did that feel?
How that big responsibility. You know, I was the rap guy. And I actually left Def Jam downtown while I was shuttling back and forth just to demystify the fact that we weren't savages, that we actually had a plan and that we wanted to do great work, continue to do great work. And so finally we all moved up to Worldwide Plaza, and, you know, after the Killers, I wasn't the rap guy anymore. So, and Sum 41.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, in 2004, you left. You became chairman and CEO of Warner Music. Why that move?
You know, why that move? That would take a long time to explain. But the fact of the matter is that I couldn't continue with Universal at the time. There's a lot of politics happening all at the same time. And the gentleman that owned Universal, that put the whole company together, was Edgar Brofman of the Seagrams family.
Yeah.
And he's the one that bought Polygram for $11 billion. And he was able to see the numbers that I was doing at Island Def Jam. And he recruited me to be one of the first people that took Warner Music private and bought it from Time Warner. AOL Time Warner.
Okay. And it was during this era that you came up with 360 deals. Did you actually invent the 360 deal yourself?
I wouldn't say I invented the 360 deal. Is that I was faced with Universal was the largest company. Sony was right behind them, and Warner was a distant 3. And so I always want to ask myself, what is my signature? What's the competitive advantage of Warner? What is, when an artist signs to Warner, what do they think about? And what I wanted to be is the largest indie or the scrappiest major. And the one that was committed most to artist development. And the only way that you could commit to artist development is you have to shrink your roster. You have to shrink the number of releases. You know, instead of throwing releases against the wall and see what sticks. You actually have to believe in what you're signing, spend money to develop and promote and market those artists, and stay with them, because artists aren't supposed to break immediately. It's supposed to be a process. It's supposed to take some time. And the signature that I wanted to have is you could take your time breaking with me, because I'm not going to run out the door because you don't have a hit or you're not posting up those numbers.
Yep.
And so what I needed to do was, because I was shrinking the roster and not having as many releases, I needed to make more from each release. So it was basically going to them and explaining to them, hey, this is what I want to do. Are you with me? Do you want to roll with me? And it wasn't like I was like, everybody has the ability to sign a contract and to roll with whomever they want to roll with. To roll with me, I needed to have more skin in the game.
I mean, 360 deals have, some people are okay with them. Some people have criticized them. And from what I understand, speaking to different managers in the music industry, when it comes to 360 deals, it's almost impossible for the label to collect on every show that an artist does. Especially at a certain level of artists. Now,
listen, but that's not the point. The point is that you and I are going to be partners. The point is that you and I are going to go through this whole journey together. By the way, a manager is a 360, right?
Yeah, actually, you're right.
Okay, so
you get a piece of everything. Yeah,
and they're not putting up any of the equity or the capital, or they don't have a big infrastructure.
This is true.
They have a mobile phone, and you know what I'm saying. And so,
yeah.
I figured, because number one, I have the capital, I have the international distribution and people all over the world. You have to walk the walk. What I mean by that is you really have to reduce your roster. You really have to focus on, a smaller number of artists. So 360 doesn't work if that's all lip service. But 360 works if you're actually going to do the work and you're actually going to let an artist grow and develop and become something, as opposed to just, rolling for 7 and 11s. That wasn't what I wanted to do.
Well, in 2006, Warner did a deal with YouTube to show music videos on the platform. This was the first time a major label did a deal with YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
Was that when the relationship with YouTube started with you?
Well, I remember being at YouTube, little office in California, Northern California, and it was my birthday. And they celebrated my birthday there, the founders. And there was just a, office the size of this place, just beginning. It was just a little startup.
Look what happened.
Yeah, and look what happened. It's amazing.
Okay, so in 2012, you left Warner. Was there a reason why you left?
I needed to keep moving. I needed to keep doing my thing. And I'm a contrarian better. So when everybody's going this way, I'm going the opposite way.
Okay.
And so everybody thought that the music business was over. When I started 300, people were laughing at me like hyenas. Like, what the fuck's wrong with him? He's got enough paper to pull over. Why is he continue doing this? And what does he think he knows that we don't? And the thing that I felt like that was important for me was I wanted to change the model. It's all about that 300 movie. I was just so moved by how a small force that has purpose can actually win. Now, everybody told me, but they died at the end. I said, right. I'm going to rewrite the story. Fuck that. I'm going to rewrite that story. And look what happened. We rewrote the story.
Yeah, you guys blew up.
Yeah.
300, which you started in 2013, was backed by Google and Atlantic. Not really?
What do you mean back? They
Well,
gave me a little bit of money.
A little bit of money.
Atlantic didn't give me any money.
Okay. Google gave you some money.
They gave me distribution.
Okay. Got it.
A little bit of money.
Right.
We're self-funded.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. Well, and Young Thug was probably the biggest signing to 300?
Yeah. One of the biggest signings. Fetty Wap was the one that gave us a lot of oxygen.
Oh, yeah. That first album was ridiculous. Hit after hit after hit after hit.
Insane.
It
kept selling.
It's
still selling.
It's still selling.
Yeah.
Free Fetty Wap, by the way. He's going through his thing right now in prison. Young Thug, though, was one of the prominent signings. Now, Thug had called you his second dad. Mm-hmm. What is the relationship between you and Thug?
Well, back then it was incredibly intimate because, it's a small company and, we're all together. We're like working at just a brand new system and just brand new artists and brand new idea. And so we're together a lot.
What was it about Young Thug that made you sign him? Because he's a very different hip-hop artist. I mean, I don't even know if you can call him hip-hop. It's almost like a new genre that he created.
I would say it's the melody in his voice. I would say it's the bravery. He's brave. Like, he's not... How about this? What pissed me off is he didn't even know who Run-D.M.C was. Okay? I was so pissed off, but intrigued, too. Like, wow. Rap's that old?
Yeah.
And so, but he's a unique and very special individual. Very, very special, incredibly talented. His oxygen is making records.
When you look at his current situation, he's facing a RICO.
I don't even understand. I don't understand the American legal system. That we could have so many artists in jail without due process. I mean, it's just it's the imagination. It just makes me really upset. Really upset with the system. Really upset with America that they could the legal system can do things like this.
Well, yeah, Kevin Liles actually took the stand on Young Thug's behalf. I think he actually cried on the stand, trying to basically portray what his personality is like and hoping to get him freed, but he's still
wait a second.
Still locked up.
It's due process. I mean, aren't you supposed to be able to have a fast and speedy trial, number one? Two, aren't you supposed to be able to be innocent till convicted, guilty? It's just bizarre that so many artists and so many Black people are in jail waiting for trials. It just doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, RICO's crazy. The whole RICO thing is you don't even have to do any crimes yourself. You just have to be affiliated and someone has to say that you were involved, and then now you're sitting with no bond.
Yeah.
Have you guys spoken since you've been locked up?
I have not.
Okay. Well, in 2016, you became the global head of music at YouTube. One of the most powerful, is that the most powerful music position in the world right now?
I don't think so.
No?
It's powerful. What's powerful?
Well, YouTube is the biggest music platform on the planet.
It is.
And you're the head of that music platform globally. So wouldn't that make you the most powerful person in music?
No, I think that people that are part of creation, like Lucien or Rob or Robert and Max and Julie and the people closest to the art form are the powerful one. So I think that the most power is with the creation.
Okay. What have you changed since you've gotten to YouTube?
I think the primary thing that I changed was, I think there was a huge misunderstanding between YouTube and the music industry. And what I did, I was supposed to be the bridge builder, but I didn't want to build the bridge. I wanted to put people together. A bridge means you have to shuttle back and forth. I have no interest in shuttling back and forth. I'm too old for that. But all these engineers that are building these magnificent products at YouTube are frustrated musicians. Every single one of our offices are required to have studios.
Okay.
So they could jam.
Okay.
So there must be something about math and music that is powerful. So the fact of the matter is that many of these engineers didn't actually understand what the issues were. And when I was able to show the music industry and introduce them to these engineers, all of a sudden they're hitting it off and having, by the way, building better products because they have contacts directly with the music industry. And the moment we built a subscription service where we converted some of our funnel, we have the largest funnel in the world. Yeah. The music industry was super happy. They love the twin engine growth story where advertising and subscription stand side by side and really create a really very special and unique relationship.
Yeah, I mean, that's the way I've pivoted my YouTube channel as well, which is sort of the core of my business. It's essentially a free service, but then we have a membership.
No, it's not a free service.
Well, it's an advertising-based service.
People pay with their eyeballs.
With their eyeballs, exactly.
That's not free.
Right. Okay. Definitely not free. But yeah, it's a advertising-based service where you pay with commercials. Yeah. But we also, YouTube has a membership section, and now we charge $5 a month if you want to get the interview on the first day, if you want, there's some exclusive full interviews.
Ridiculous.
And yeah, you're right. It has to be a balancing act between the two to make it work.
Exactly.
What is the biggest change that you're hoping to enact at YouTube Music in the coming years?
Well, I think the biggest change that we're all going to have to deal with is Gen AI. And Gen AI is going to change the world. It's already in the process of changing the world. And there's no stopping it. And the key for us is that we work very quickly with the music industry to listen to the artists and the songwriters and the industry at large to understand what are the possibilities, what are the opportunities. And so this is a very unique time where we're actually working together with the music industry to actually think through some of the challenges that we're facing with Gen AI. And I would say the most important thing is money. So, to be the largest earner for the industry of revenue to the industry is critical. And so revenue, fame, those are the two engines that we want to make sure that we are really helping the artist and songwriter community win.
Well, in 2021, Warner buys 300 for $400 million.
A little more than that.
A little more than that. Right around there.
Yeah.
Got it. My numbers are never quite right, but they're...
Yeah. It's, that's what the publicity.
Okay. Were you happy with that sale, or did you want to... Because you weren't actively in the company anymore at that point, right?
I'm very happy with the sale. And ecstatic for, I started it in my den, okay?
Yeah.
And with a bunch of people bashing me. And so to be able to 9 years later to sell it and have it continue as an entity, and I don't know, it's just like I'm pinching myself. It's unbelievable.
I mean, we're in a very litigious time right now in America. You see these billion-dollar lawsuits that happen over, like, let's say the shooting in Vegas, or like, a woman sued Geico because she got an STD in her boyfriend's car and he had Geico insurance, like ridiculous situations. Do you think at one point it's going to spill into music and spill into hip hop, where let's just say an artist gets signed to a major label, he raps about some violent situation, and the victim of that violence then sues the label for pushing and promoting that
I
content.
have zero clue about that, but I do believe in tort reform. I do believe that we need to have a legal system that is more thoughtful.
Yeah.
I just feel like we're coming off the hinges here.
Yeah.
So
I agree. And, you talked about artist development. It was almost like the Motown model, where you had almost a university where artists like the Supremes could get signed, and for years and years they could have no hits. But ultimately, by artist development, they do have a hit, and they turn into superstars. This is how you ran your company. But these days, and these are your words, you say the labels are day trading rappers.
So I think that with this short form video and the labels are signing artists too early, spending too much money, and putting too much pressure on the kid. And I think pressure is never a good thing. Giving a lot of money is not a bad thing. But if it's possible to give money and not have the pressure, that's a different thing. But with a lot of money comes a lot of pressure. And with that, everybody wants to take shortcuts. And I don't believe in the shortcut. I believe you have to get on the road. I think you need to go touch your fans, especially now in the digital world. You could fake it, but there's a moment of truth that you're going to have to show up on a stage and perform. And I think that's becoming even more evident now. And so there's a lot of, I think, important work that needs to be done between putting a record out, even before putting a record out, helping the artists, for example, when they have an opportunity to show up and do an interview. Do they know? Are they prepared?
Yeah.
Are they going to be able to make a difference? I don't think that there's that much investment being made in that type of development.
Well, you see situations, for example, Oliver Anthony. I don't know if you're familiar with him. It's a country artist.
Yeah.
He has that song, Rich Men, North of Richmond.
Yeah.
The first #1 song from an artist that had no chart activity at all leading up to it. The first time in the 100+ years the music industry's been around, this guy broke the mold.
Okay.
Do you think that in the future, this is going to become the norm and the major labels aren't going to be as important anymore? Or do you think the major labels are going to become even more important in the future?
Listen, I don't look at major labels, independent labels. I think labels are extremely important. They're important because I think it's really important that we have our artists go back to finding the needle in the haystack, making great music. I don't believe fame and celebrity trumps quality. I believe quality trumps fame. And so I think everybody's been rushing for the fame, and I think the quality's been suffering.
Well, I know you have to go soon, so I just want to end it with this. Me and Russell Simmons had a long conversation about you last night. That's what hooked us up. And he had nothing but good things to say about you. And the one thing that he really kept pushing during our conversation was the mentorship that you guys provided. He basically described how when you guys were doing Rush Associated Labels, it was somewhat of a failure, right? But what you learned through that process was the mentorship, which allowed you guys to, empower the Rockefeller Records, empower Murder Inc., empower Rough Riders. When you look at all the people, all the millionaires, the multimillionaires that you've created, like Julie Greenwald became the most powerful woman in music of all time.
Person.
Most powerful person in
That
music?
happens to be a woman.
Happened to be a woman. Got it.
Yeah.
Exactly. She became a huge figure.
Yes.
In was it Atlantic?
Yes.
Yeah. Kevin Lyles. Even Chris Lighty came up through you guys.
Of course.
When you look at all the successful multimillionaires that you created, how do you feel about that?
I didn't create them. They got their bag the old-fashioned way. Okay, hard work. They believed in the team. All of those people could have gone other places, but decided to stay with us to the point that they learned what they needed to learn, and then if they wanted to move on, they moved on. But nobody gave them anything. I didn't make them multimillionaires. They made themselves multimillionaires because of the grind, and that they had incredible taste. They were focused and committed.
Yeah.
No, there's no shortcut to this shit.
Yep. What's next for you?
I have no idea.
That's where we're going to end it.
Thank you.
Lyor Cohen, thank
you
you so much for coming in.
Thank you.
Wish
for
you all the
having me.
best.